She's not what you'd expect. She's tough and feisty, but gentle and tender. She makes millions and gives millions to the poor. She cries, she laughs, she teaches, she comforts. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Welcome to the Dani Johnson Show. We really are blessed that you decided to join us today. I think today you have the chance of being very inspired. I know I'm going to be inspired as I introduce you to three individuals that I believe have an amazing story, a story that needs to be told. I don't know about you, but if you've ever been in a situation where you've just worked so hard and yet you're still just struggling and you just cannot figure out why. That's exactly where Jared Crebs found himself out of San Antonio, Texas. Joining me today, he and his beautiful wife, Crystal, are here to share some of the struggles that they had from their past, what solutions that they found to fix it, and the insurmountable amount of success that they've had since that time, changing just a couple of little things, having a different type of a focus, how that can put you on a completely different path versus the path that you were on once before. Jared Crebs and Crystal, welcome to the Dani Johnson Show.
Thank you, Dani. Great to be here.
Thanks, Dani.
We're excited to have you guys here. San Antonio, one of my favorite cities, is certainly a city that people need to visit. Great food down there. My favorite restaurant in the whole world is right there in San Antonio, Texas. I love the food there. In fact, I probably go there often, more often than I should be. Anyway, can you please share with us what some of the struggles you were having before you tapped into whatever the solution was that helped you to have some success?
Absolutely. Prior to Dani Johnson, I had been running my business and it was stagnant. In fact, my income had gone down by 14% the prior year. On top of that, I was working all the time. I was drowning in debt. I was actually spending more than I was making. And me and Crystal, we weren't doing so well. We had actually just broken up and then gotten back together right before we went to our First Steps to Success seminar. Actually, this was in September of 2012. And when we went, it was just the perfect timing for our lives. And we applied everything we learned. We took notes. We were hungry. And out of that event, actually in the last 3 years, we paid off over $56,000 worth of debt. Last year, we made over $105,000 with our business. Wow. And most importantly, we got married. And that was the best decision ever. And we're just having a blast. So our whole life looks different in the last couple of years since we gone to our first event, and we continue to go to the events because we love them.
Wow. So when you, prior to coming, being stagnant and spending more than you're making, how did you get into that place?
I think it's because I didn't really have good mentorship or training. Mm-hmm. The people that were mentoring me or training me didn't quite have those things going for themselves either, So when I went to First Steps and when I listened to you talk about success is not what you show, it's what you don't show. Yeah. Things like that just rung so deeply inside of me, and it just made sense,
Mm-hmm. So are you saying that you were spending more than you were making because you were trying to show yourself to be more successful than you were?
Exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a $700 car payment trying to show myself. I had a real nice fancy car trying to show how successful I was. Today I actually have a less fancy car and make way more money and more happier. So.
Exactly. Keeping the money is much better than
so good.
Yes, than blowing it. It's crazy. Here on the Dani Johnson Show, we do talk about defining success for you because society tells us, they give us this picture, they paint this facade for us, and it looks like you bought it hook, line, and sinker, just like my husband and I bought it hook, line, and sinker, right? The success was in, the cars we drive and the houses we live in and where that house is located and the kind of clothing and the name on the inside of the shirt and how big our diamonds are or how expensive our watch is. And it's so crazy how we get so sucked into that nonsense and we can't figure out how come we're miserable. And largely it is because of the choice to follow what the status quo of success is. And that's why we always say no, defy the status quo of success. Yeah. Who are they anyway? Who the heck do they think they are telling us what our definition of success should be for us? So let me ask you this. So you fell into the trap that society sold you guys of what success looked like. So what kind of hardships did it bring?
Well, just first of all, the financial stress, having my bills be up here and my finances be about right below that.
Yep.
that is not a good feeling. So,
What does it feel like for a man to be in that place?
well, you're wanting to provide, and that was one concern I had about getting married is, can I provide?
Yeah.
And if by changing my lifestyle, the way I live, my income's gone up, I've been able to also provide much better. And having Crystal on the same page, I can't say how much that's helped to bring your spouse or bring your significant other to an event, because it just makes it worth 10 times more to have that person there with you.
So, Crystal, before First Steps to Success, what did your life look like, and what did your life look like with Jared in particular?
Well, prior to any of the seminars, our relationship was kind of rocky. We have very opposite personalities, and so they clashed a little bit. When we finally went to the very first steps, it was just kind of eye-opening, mind-blowing, and we were both realizing how our communication was just not the right way to communicate with each other. And I'm so thankful about that, because since then we've learned how to really understand each other, and really our communication is so much better. And like you said, I don't know if we would have even gotten married if we hadn't gone, because we were really just kind of on the outs. We didn't understand.
We wouldn't have been married if we hadn't started learning from you, for sure.
Yeah. So
Why? Why do you say that?
For me personally, it was a lot about getting my life in order. It was like making the spiritual life my most important priority, then the spouse, then the kids, then the work. And for so long it was the work pretty much was the biggest priority, and then Crystal was probably one of the lower priorities, and so we went to learn from you for our business, but we got so much more, including great business strategies and skills and success. But our life is so much better because we do spend that time. We actually every 3 months we do some type of weekend getaway, even if it's local, just so that we have some quality time. We learned that from you, and that just adds so much to our relationship.
Yeah.
So the things that you teach about just the holistic approach to success just really has been so phenomenal. It resonates with us so much, and so we're definitely living by example now for our team in our business as well.
Yeah, which is so important. And so did that change the pressure that was on you as a man? Changing maybe what your priorities were. Like when work is your God, it has a tendency of being abusive.
Right?
It really is. It's an abusive God. Work is. It's very, very abusive and unfulfilling. As much as we like to think that it is, it's a lie. It's nothing but a lie. And it's not supposed to be our number one priority. So, Jared, would you say that you are under less pressure today than you were 3 years ago?
Way less pressure. And my bills are down here and my income's up here. So it's nice. There's plenty of money to invest, to tithe, to give, to take Crystal, but it was a holistic change. We did a lot of stuff differently.
All at once. And this has also been 3 years in the making. This wasn't overnight. It's not like we just went to one event and had it all happen. We've learned a lot from you, going to several events, applying those things, making mistakes, growing, changing, trying out things, being committed. So so thankful. We're so grateful to you for what you've taught and what you put out there for the public, to consume, because most of us are consuming information that's not very good for us, Yeah, no question. And again, we live in a society that teaches us that work is supposed to be number one and that family means nothing. And we have a lot of people who are single in our society. They have no intention of getting married because some of them grew up with that mindset. You know what I mean? Like the parents that sacrifice the kids for money and for work and the bigger houses and new cars every couple of years. And so, this whole younger generation is like, forget that, man. I don't want anything to do with it. Just everything is just kind of messed up all over the place. Crystal, you had some health issues that you were kind of in denial about. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I definitely knew there was something wrong with me health-wise, and I really was just afraid to go to the doctor and kind of find out what was going on. Just I guess being around the community and stuff, like I felt a little more confident. So I also didn't have insurance. And that kind of had to do with my finances. So started obviously taking care of my finances, and then got the health insurance, went to the doctor, found out I had cervical cancer. And so that was kind of crazy, but still continued to go to the seminars, and with the friends I made, I mean, I was able to get through chemo and radiation, and today I'm cancer free and really happy and healthy. And, you know, it's just, it was a crazy ride. And I don't know, I'm just that much more happy now. I think my perspective also has changed to going to the seminars and doing some of those, the forgiveness exercises that we go through, because that, in a way, I mean, health isn't necessarily just specifically a medical issue. I mean, there's underlying issues that we have that we need to let go of, and it really, that can be even more healing than you know, having a medical treatment of some sort.
Yes, yes. And so you feel like tapping into that community at First Steps to Success, like just not only the people there like encouraged you and helped to strengthen you as you walk through chemo and radiation, and at the same time getting your finances order and adjusting your priorities, right? Where it's not just work, 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 play, 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 and ignore my physical body, but I got to deal with the junk that's in my trunk and get my life on track. You know, I mean, so many of us don't do that. We're just racing and living life so fast that we're not taking care of ourselves. So what does it look like with you taking care of yourself today, especially now that you're married?
Well, definitely a lot healthier perspective on things. I think I even feel so much more love to give. And I don't know, I'm just really happy right now. It's still the beginning, in a way, of this new chapter in my life. And you know, the sky's the limit. And now, especially knowing skills and what we've learned from you, and just the way that we're living life, it's going to be that much better.
Yeah, yeah. You know, what I find to be interesting is that when we make choices to change our lives, sometimes our family is not for it. You know, sometimes people will look at us and sneer and go, "What are you doing? That's just so fake. You know, that thing ain't real." You know, all of those kinds of things. I'm sure you guys endured that. There were some people in your life that were the naysayers with the choices that you were making, right? Selling the giant car that had the $700 monthly payment. Hello. Gosh, you know, shrinking down your expenses and living way below your means. Like, people must have thought you were crazy. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more of the story right after this.
When we come back, find out the surprising transformation that moved Jared and Crystal from broke to breakthrough. It's next on The Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, this is Dani Johnson. Let me ask you something. Do you dream about being more confident, more beautiful, more powerful? Are you that girl who never learned to wear makeup and now you're lost in a sea of YouTube videos? That busy mom who can't get enough sleep and just wants to feel pretty again? Or maybe you're that professional who wants a little more respect in the office. From the boardroom to the bedroom, celebrity makeup artist Xtina Harmsworth from XMH Beauty will help you. Xtina has a track record of making beauty easy on any budget. Her live class is simple, step-by-step professional beauty techniques, and insider secrets will set you apart from the crowd. So don't sit on your dream another minute. Learn from the best. Get your exclusive free gift from Xtina today at xmhbeauty.com/Dani. That's xmhbeauty.com/DANI.
And now, back to The Dani Johnson Show.
All right, so your life is a mess, right? Have you ever been there? Yeah, you know, you followed the status quo of success. It says, you know, success is driving a big car or the big expensive car with the big payment and the house, the stuff, you know, the society nonsense, you know, being a part of the right clubs or whatever. And then, of course, dragging your kids through that nonsense with making sure they have the designer of everything and making sure they are in the private school, you know, and that you're always hanging around the right people, you know, and then you just kind of wake up after the massive hangover And it is a hangover. It's a total hangover. It's called a debt hangover. It's called a financial pressure hangover. It's called a broken relationship hangover, right? I mean, there's so many people that are fully intoxicated with a toxic way of living and they don't even realize it. And that's kind of where the Crebs found themselves. This great and gorgeous couple that we've been interviewing in the first segment, Jared and Crystal Krebs, who before tapping into this show, this website, DaniJohnson.com, and the materials, First Steps to Success, totally riddled in debt, living above their means. They had a broken relationship themselves, had been on again, off again. To then fast forward to now paying off $57,000 worth of debt. Yeah, $56,000 worth of debt, making over $100,000 a year now. And they got married. In fact, they got married nearly a year ago and battled cancer. Crystal battled cancer, came out on the other side. And the community that she tapped into at First Steps to Success helped her to endure these things. And so there were many that were excited about this union, this marriage, and we all celebrate their success. However, it's not always easy. When you choose to make changes in your life, there's some people in your life that want to come against you. Jared or Crystal, did you have anybody so after you came to First Steps, did you have any people that think you were totally crazy, nuts, and stupid?
Yeah, of course. There was people. There was people, especially in the business community, that were kind of like wondering why we were going to seminars or why we were gone or trying these different things, and we just weren't listening to them anymore. And it's, I don't know. To me, it didn't faze me too much because I just believed so much in what I was seeing from the results that your clients were getting. Mm-hmm. I'd see these results from all your different clients around the world and that were at the trainings, and I was just like, okay, that's all I need to see. I really don't care what anyone else says. What about you?
I think that people started to notice, especially because we didn't just go to one seminar. We were consistently going pretty much every 6 weeks or whatever. And seeing the small changes and even some of the bigger changes, obviously the financial stuff, getting rid of the cars and stuff like that. But you could just, I think people saw the light around us a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And the way we were communicating with everybody else, people were curious. There have been a lot of people who, we've recommended and have come with us to the seminars now, and they are so very grateful for that, just from seeing how we've changed and continue to grow, because it is growing. We're all growing. This isn't, this is.
And we can never stop. We can never stop, because as soon as we stop growing, we're going in the wrong direction. That's for darn sure. Now, you two have joined us on this adventure with taking care of the poor. And you guys have gotten very serious about that and have rallied around the cry of the orphan, the sick, the widow. You have just jumped on board with that. What is it about that? Because you literally have taken a percentage of your income and you've given it to those who are in need. What drew you to that? Well,
for me, it was a lot of the things you were teaching from the Bible about giving and tithing, and it's like a muscle. I feel like I've been able to grow a giving muscle almost, and planning my finances out and saying, okay, at the end of the month, no matter what, I'm giving this much percentage to the orphans. I don't care what happens. I'm going to give that. Wow. And just starting to get used to that, and then saying, oh wow, I didn't go broke. Oh, I actually was able to still do some nice things with my wife and pay off debt and give, and how cool that is. Yeah. So definitely feel more abundant doing it as well. But it's just a good practice. It's just a good way to live, and we definitely have enjoyed that part of it. Something that we didn't do before, for sure.
So interesting. So your income has grown in direct result of giving to the poor.
Yeah.
That's wild, isn't it? So all at the same time, you decided to shrink down your expenses, sell things you didn't need, pay off your debt, give to the poor at the same time that you're doing that, and your income grew.
That's exactly what happened.
Sounds pretty awesome to me. It sounds like a simple thing that any of us can do. I love it. You guys have inspired me today. I know that you've inspired others. Thanks so much for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate all the work that you're doing. This is Dani Johnson. We're going to continue on next with a welfare to 6 figures testimony and 7 kids. Yikes. We'll continue after this.
If you've ever wanted to make millions, change the world, be the voice for the voiceless, and have a blast doing it, then you need to spend some time with this lady right here. She's been doing it for years, and she'll show you how. This is the Dani Johnson Show.
Imagine living in a decrepit, unsafe hovel made of waste material on top of old mining tunnels that could explode and sink your home at any moment. Imagine no water to drink, no safe place to raise your children, no food for your starving baby. Imagine that your kids can't learn to read because they have to work to support the family instead of going to school. Could you imagine living in that kind of fear and hopelessness? This is exactly what families are dealing with in the poverty-stricken village of Santa Pancha, Nicaragua. These families can barely meet their basic food, water, and housing needs. We are transforming that village. Be a part of this miracle. I want you to go to the website now and learn how you can help. Go to kingsransom.org and click on Santa Pancha. There you can join with other warriors against poverty and help bring a miraculous transformation to Santa Pancha. That's kingsransom.org, kingsransom.org.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
So there you are, you're on welfare, you have 7 kids, you have a crazy amount of debt that seems to be sucking the life out of you. You've got a past that is a little confusing. You love God, but you don't really know what that looks like because of the confusing past. That's where Mary Jess found herself when she first found the website that you're on right now, DaniJohnson.com. Mary Jess joining us from Indiana. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dani, for having me. It is an honor.
No, the honor's ours. I've been so blessed by you, your husband, the story, the kids, all of it. And today you guys have a tremendous amount of success. You've accomplished so much and still learning, still growing, still being mentored. And that is so rare for people who've had a tremendous amount of success in a very short period of time. Okay, so let's dig into this story. So May of 2012, your family came to Chicago, Illinois for a First Steps to Success. First of all, how did you hear about us?
A friend of mine, Lori Trent, gave me a book, your Spirit-Driven Success book. And I read it, and everything just clicked about it. It was, I'd wondered about a lot of things. I often wondered, why do we struggle the way we do? And everything in your book was just like, yes, yes, yes. And I thought, I have got to meet this lady. I've got to get myself to one of the events. Well, being on welfare, you don't have the money to spend a couple $100s to go to these events.
Yep.
But I was determined to do whatever it takes to change this. Your book gave me hope. I knew if we were willing to be taught and would apply ourselves, that it would change. I couldn't imagine how much it would change. I never dreamed it would change to this extent. I just wanted to be able to pay my bills, really, is all I wanted at that time.
And so what did your life look like prior to that event? Because today you got 6 figures that you've made. You have a very successful franchise, adding more franchises. You're no longer on welfare. You guys have paid off debt. Your story is outrageous. But what was the life with 7 kids and your husband? And what was the marriage like? What was the daily life like?
Miserable, extremely miserable, as you can imagine. There was never money for anything. The money did come in, but it went out as fast as it came in. So no money for school pictures, no money for sports, no money. My gas tank was my boss. It told me where I could and couldn't go.
Wow.
Literally, our life was just was so stuck. We could get by, but then as soon as there was a crisis of any kind, it was this big, just so much stress. Just the marriage, you can imagine, was just miserable.
What was miserable in the marriage?
I didn't trust my husband. I thought once I got married, he would take care of me. I had that mentality of he was just going to make it all. He was going to, be this big provider, and everything was going to be hunky-dory. And then when it wasn't, it was a great big disappointment on my end, and I became very bitter. Yeah.
So what was it like to live with you?
One day I asked myself that question.
You did?
Yes, I did. My husband, I don't remember what he said, but I asked myself, well, would I want to be married to me?
Yeah.
And the answer was no, I would not. And I think I really started thinking on how I'm acting and how that is making him react.
Yeah.
And that the way, I stopped putting all the blame on him. And I started taking personal responsibility for how our marriage was. And that really actually was a big turning point. It made it safe for him to
be a man.
Be a man, yes. Yes.
A man who could perhaps learn how to provide?
Yes.
So you were saying you were extremely bitter. So how was that acted out? I mean, were you condemning to him? Were you critical of him? Would you give him dirty looks? I mean, would you hug the side of the bed? Don't touch me.
A lot more than don't touch me. I would just want to be left alone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was mean.
How were you mean? Come on, I want to hear the juice. Come on, tell me the juice. How were you mean?
Just mostly by withholding myself from him, and there was this wall between us, and I just left it there. And I knew that was devastating to him. He was crushed. One day, okay, there's this part of our life where we talk about there's a day when I cried all the time. And then one day I stopped crying. And I decided that I do not need him. And that was the most devastating thing I could have ever done. I stopped crying because I decided I'm not going to need him. And I made myself believe that I'm going to get everything from God instead. And God's going to be my husband and be all, since my husband's not being the husband he needs to be. I'm just going to get it all from God, which is a lie. I mean, so that was very devastating to my husband. And he really went downhill from there as far as his health. And it's just very recently, I mean, within the last couple months, that I have repented of all of that and told him, and I keep telling him, and I say it, and I believe it, and I'm taking it into my heart. And I tell him, honey, I need you. I really need you, and you're incredible, and you do an amazing job. And the part in your book where you talk about how Hans, you felt like you deserved somebody better or more, and God showed you that. That totally convicted me. That was like, oh wow, okay. I have the husband I am mature enough to have.
That's right.
And so if I want things to change, it's gonna have, I mean, the husband I thought I deserved would not last with me. I would destroy him. Yeah, I realized that.
Yeah. And so were you not nice with your mouth, or was it just constant silent treatment and kept up the brick wall and not smiling at him, not encouraging him, not touching him?
More I knew how to do it way better. And I would constantly tell him how I would do it. Ooh. This is how, that type of, yeah. Tearing him down.
Yes, it's very condemning and very emasculating and belittling of a husband.
Yes.
Yeah, to constantly tell him how he should do it and how your way is better. Yeah, that's kind of painful. That helps to emasculate a man to the point where now you're on welfare.
Yeah, very much.
And I know that I've heard you say that you guys had to bake cookies and sell them door to door just to make ends meet.
We did. We actually, one time I remember baking enough cinnamon rolls to pay for over $1,200 worth of camping fees for my children to go to a camp.
Wow.
That was a lot of cinnamon rolls. It took me 3 weeks of just baking and baking and baking. And I said, I'll bake it, you guys take it. And they did. And we would go door to door with cookies. We would go door to door with a grilled chicken. People eat food. Food is one of the easiest things you can sell, and quick cash.
Yeah.
One afternoon, I took, I think it was 8 different children with me, out on the town, and we had 4 cases of cookies with us, which was a dozen in each case.
Yep.
And in 4 hours, we had them all sold.
How much did you make that day with just selling cookies?
Let me do the math real quick. It was over $500.
$500.
Like in 4 hours.
That is so simple. And so people just on the street will buy cookies from you.
Yeah, we went downtown and they went into the stores and like, here we've got cookies, and people just buy them. And it's a great way to make some quick cash.
Yeah, it is. There's no excuse. And baking cookies is cheap. Literally. I mean, it's so cheap. There's cheap ingredients to bake anything, almost anything actually. Cookies or bread or desserts, cheap desserts that have to do with flour and sugar and things like that. Wow, that's pretty awesome. And, pretty minimal work as well. Cinnamon rolls are really cheap to make. That's cheaper than cookies, actually. Yeah. Less ingredients, and that's pretty amazing. Well, shoot. So you helped to make ends meet by taking your kids out on the streets with baked goods. They sell them, and $500 is $500. That's a lot of money. That could be rent for somebody. That could be a car payment for another person. I mean, there's no excuse. Like, there absolutely is no excuse at all. When we continue back in our next segment, we're going to talk about what changed their financial situation, and what kind of a business they got started in, how they got started in that business, the miracles that came all around it, and then today in a six-figure income. From welfare to six figures inside of 24 months is a pretty astronomical gain financially. And this family did it. They bootstrapped it. And the first, also, like, they could not afford to come to First Steps to Success. They couldn't afford to get that training. And at the same time, they couldn't afford not to. They found a way, and it had to do with selling some items and doing whatever it took to put them in front of that first event. And everything since that time is on a completely different course, a completely different path. A healed and restored marriage. Mom and dad being truly married people and learning how to live inside of that skin, because those are so completely different roles, and being better parents and better financially. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more after this.
Mary's family went through a tough season, but you'll never believe what happened to them next. Hear the shocking outcome on The Dani Johnson Show.
Hi, I'm Dani Johnson. The most common question I get usually are from people who are trying to juggle their life. They've got kids who are involved in all kinds of activities. They've got business or their job, finances, trying to get out of debt, plus all their church activities and all the volunteer activities, and they're pulling their hair out going, how do I juggle this all? Man, I once lived just like that until I learned Time Secrets. Time Secrets showed me how to be able to cut my hours from 100 hours a week that I was working down to 20 hours a week, and tripled my income as a direct result with what I learned. Time Secrets also showed me how to get my priorities in order, which healed up my marriage, and I became a mother that I was proud of, versus becoming the mother I didn't want to be. And so if you feel like your world is running around in all kinds of different circles, you can fix that. Call 888-757-8880. Again, 888-757-8880 for Time Secrets.
In your face and in your corner. You've never had a coach like this before. This is The Dani Johnson Show.
7 kids, welfare, but now to 6 figures. Owning their own franchise. You have to hear this story. It's crazy. Listen, I don't care how bad your life is today. It doesn't have to stay that way. It doesn't matter where you've come from. What matters is where you're going, and that you can learn from where you came from. You can learn from the choices that you made, and you can make the change to improve your life. Your life is not destined for failure. It's not destined for hopelessness. But there's a hope and a promise and a great future waiting for you if you choose to head in that direction. That's exactly what Mary Jess and her husband had to do. They had to choose a different life. Mary Jess, as you just finished sharing, I mean, you guys were baking cookies and selling them on the streets to make ends meet, selling cinnamon rolls to make ends meet, welfare recipients, 7 children, you and your husband. It sounded like you couldn't stand each other, and you were one of those wives like I was in the past, just belittling, condemning, very manipulative with my choosing not to give love, but just choosing to reject him and push him away from me. And so after First Steps to Success, which you could not afford to go to, what has happened to your life since that time? Give me the numbers, like debt, how much debt have you paid off? How much has your income changed? And what kind of a business do you have today?
Okay, well, after the event, we went home with the war on debt. and watched it, and it just stood out to me. Attack the debt.
Yep.
So I made a plan, got it on a chart, got it in front of me, just got real with how we were living. And it was like somebody flipped a switch in us. We just became so focused on eliminating debt. And as we did that, it was incredible, the doors that opened and how the opportunities came, and how our finances actually quadrupled within the first year.
Really?
Yeah. My husband worked in the factory, and he made not too bad money. And the first door that opened for us was a farmer's market where we went in to make soft pretzels, and matched his weekly income in one day.
Wow.
So there we doubled our income just instantly.
Wow.
That was like, we saw you in May, and that May is when that happened.
Wow.
And by 2014, we were offered, there was a space available to put in a franchise. And we had such bad credit because we'd lost a farm, and we didn't have any credit. It was all bad. We couldn't get a loan for even $1,000. We tried.
Mm-hmm.
And they said no. And I really don't understand how this works, but because we paid off $60,000 in debt, and we're continuing to be faithful, I guess, with what we were having,
Mm-hmm.
We just got the courage to go to the bank to ask for part of the business loan. And there's people that were saying, no, don't even bother. You'll never get it.
Mm-hmm.
Not with the credit you have. And there was just something in us that just didn't stop. We were like, well, let's just try.
Nice.
And there's no natural reason. You can't explain. The bank said yes. We don't even have anything. We don't, we had no collateral. We had no down payment. We had nothing. Like, there's nothing.
That's crazy. How much? That's absolutely crazy. All right. So you've paid off $60,000 worth of debt now. You've quadrupled your income to six figures. You own a franchise inside of a Walmart. So you have a pretzel business inside of a Walmart. And hold on a second. So you had bad credit. You lost a farm. You had nothing. You couldn't even get a loan for $1,000. But by faith, you stepped out anyway to see if you could get a business loan to start this franchise inside of Walmart. And how much was the loan that you were asking for?
$60,000.
Oh my gosh. So you have no collateral, right? You have no house to back it up. You have nothing. You have nothing working for you other than the fact that you'd paid off a bunch of debt already.
Yeah.
Right? And you were living below your means. You guys are working hard and making money.
Yes.
And so that had to be God, in my opinion. That had to be God.
Yes.
For them to give you a loan after you had a foreclosure on a farm, and you had a past of terrible finances. I mean, here you just had your first year of good finances. And now that's a lot of money to try to get a loan on. And so people were telling you, don't even do it. You're crazy. Yeah. It's not going to work. Don't even try.
Yep.
But you didn't listen to the naysayers.
No, we didn't.
You went forward anyway. You got the loan. Now you have the franchise. What's going on with that business? And by the way, that box of ingredients that you sent me, I think it was like a year ago. Oh my gosh. I can't stop thinking about these stupid pretzels. Okay, so they have a box of do-it-yourself pretzels, right? And so they send you, the flours in one container. There's no thinking. You don't really have to measure anything. You just have to open containers, put it all together, let it rise, and oh my gosh, I think about these stupid pretzels way too often. I really do, Mary Jess. These pretzels are outrageous. They're Ben's pretzels. They put to shame Annie's pretzels. They put to shame Wetzel's pretzels. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I've had those pretzels, but Ben's pretzels, oh my gosh, especially the sweet ones. It came with the cinnamon and sugar, but the do-it-yourself kit is phenomenal. That really is amazing. Okay, so your life today, right? You own a pretzel franchise. Would you have ever believed that when you step foot, May of 2012, into a First Steps to Success, And you have been to many since then. I mean, I see your guys' face all the time. You, your family, I mean, your husband, your kids, other family members, other friends. I mean, there's a whole community that has come with you. Some of your staff that now, works in your pretzel business with you.
Yes.
They have been through first steps to success. The owners of the franchise, meaning the ones who birthed the franchise, got the idea to birth that franchise at first steps to success. Did you ever think that if I came off the stage and looked you in the eyes and said, Mary Jess, you and your husband's life is not going to look this way 2 years from now. You're going to own a pretzel franchise. You're going to make 6 figures. You in 2 years are going to pay off $60,000 worth of debt.
No.
Right? What would you have said in that moment?
I don't think I would have believed you because I do remember how I felt at my very first steps. I felt so hopeless and overwhelmed, extremely overwhelmed. And I'll never forget what you said towards the end. It was the last night, and you said, give me 1 year of your life and you won't recognize it.
Yep.
If you're willing. And I thought, that's it. I can do that. I don't want to recognize my life.
Yes.
I don't want this.
Yes.
And I trusted you. At that point, I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So I committed in my heart right then and there 1 year.
Wow.
And so that was the hope line you threw to me. And we started there.
Man, it all started with this book, Spirit Driven Success. A friend handed it to her, and God spoke hope to her, spoke hope to the family, and they began to take steps. I mean, isn't that crazy that you can read a book and it can inspire you to take steps, to take control over your life and to make new choices and to look in the mirror and figure out, like, why am I where I'm at and what do I need to do to fix it? Instead of staying in that place of just constant confusion forever. Mary Jess, thank you so much for sharing your story. It's such an inspiration. Those pretzels, I'm telling you, I want to own like 10 of those franchises myself. I think it's a brilliant business model, no question. Who can deny those fresh pretzels, especially those? They're amazing. This is Dani Johnson. We'll continue with more right after this.
So what is success? A big house? A big title? A big fat paycheck? Dani Johnson has had them all, and you need to hear what she discovered when she had them.
This is your chance. This is your shot. Get your copy of War on Debt right now. There's one waiting for you that has your family's name on it. And inside that package is freedom. Your family's freedom is on the inside of that package. All you have to do is open it up, press play, and start applying what I teach you in this program. 888-757-8880. You and I are going to help your family become completely debt-free in the next 5 to 7 years. Just imagine how that's going to feel.
And now, back to the Dani Johnson Show.
Friend, you never know. You never ever know when your life is going to change. You never ever know that when you've come to that place of reaching the absolute bottom of bottom, just as you heard earlier today with Jared Krebs and his wife Crystal, how they had just so much stress in their relationship and they were not going to get married, in fact kept breaking up, just totally suffocating under all of that debt and the pressure of society to try to live in that car and wear those clothes and try to show that you're more successful than you really, really are, trying to gain acceptance from all the wrong people for all the wrong reasons. And then all the way down to the Jess family, a mother of 7 children and her husband, they're fighting. They don't like each other. There's just so much stress and pressure and so much debt, and they're on welfare and they're having to bake cookies and sell them in the street to be able to make ends meet. But look, both of these families have completely taken control over their life. They got humble. They started to ask for help. They started to search for solutions. And the solution that they found was at DaniJohnson.com, which you might be watching today's program straight from that website, or you might be watching it on TV or listening to it on an app or on YouTube. But listen to me. Get over to that website. It's the same website that these two families went to. Look at the difference in their lives. Both have paid off a huge amount of debt, right? The Krebs, $57,000. Mary Jess and her husband, $60,000 worth of debt. Okay, both have increased their income. In fact, the Jess family quadrupled their income into 6 figures. They've never made anywhere near $50,000 a year. In fact, her husband told me once he just had hope that maybe one day he'd be able to. Friends, they're in multiple 6 figures today, now with a franchise inside of a Walmart. That was in such a short period of time. We're talking 2 years. That kind of a thing began to shift for them. So listen, do what they've done. Don't settle for the naysayers. Don't settle for less. You could be on a path that could train you and your family up, your business, your career, your finances will be completely different. Go now to the website, check out where the next First Steps to Success event is, and start with this. You know, Mary Jess said this book changed her life. Spirit-Driven Success. But First Steps to Wealth, I'd love to give you it for free. This one you can purchase on our website or Amazon or Barnes & Noble's. Walmart carries this book. In fact, all of our books you can find in a number of different places. But if you would like a free copy of this, we'd love to help you. If you find yourself as the Krebs family or the Jess family was, I'd love to give you this copy right now and begin to read it. If you call our office, 866-760-8255. Again, that's 760-8255. Okay? 866-760-8255. Ask for Nate or Nellie. They'd be happy to serve you immediately, and ask them about the next first steps to success so that you can go. Don't wait. Don't wait till it's in your backyard. It's never coming to your backyard. You're going to have to fly, drive, take a train, or whatever. Do it and get yourself there, and you'll see your life begin to change. Stop putting up your excuses and begin to put together a plan, because debt-free is on the other side of it. On the other side is growing your career, mending your relationships, learning how to communicate better, learning how to motivate yourself and others. Your whole life is going to be different. I promise you, 100% money back guaranteed. So go get this immediately. God bless you. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
This is the Dani Johnson Show. If this episode was an encouragement to you, go to DaniJohnson.com and share it with your friends now. You never know who else needs to hear it. Join us every weekday at 7 a.m. for more insights that will help you get to the life you've always wanted.
Hi, welcome to the Dani Johnson YouTube channel. We're super excited to have you here. And every single week, we're going to make sure that you get awesome videos for your business, career, making more money, saving money, annihilating your debt, as well as helping you to handle those really tough problems that you have with people at home as well as at work, and taking those really good relationships you already have and causing them to flourish and grow. All you have to do is click that subscribe button right down here. Click that and you'll be subscribed to an amazing community of people, as well as some great videos that will help to improve your life. Thanks so much for being here. Subscribe now would be good. Just click it. I know you can see it. It's somewhere down here. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.